Hello and welcome to Army Live. I'm Sergeant Lucy Foreman.
And I'm Corporal Hamish Gorsuch-Wright.
Today, we're kicking off with Welcome to Army Life. We're exploring what life in the Army is really like, because whether you're on training or away on deployment, it's not just where you work. It's also where you eat, sleep, socialise and relax.
So today, we'll be chatting to Gunner Carla Todd in the Royal Artillery. She'll be talking about life in the Army, how she found training, and what else surprised her about the Army once she arrived here. And once we've chatted, we'll be going on a tour of Larkhill Barracks, so stay with us for that.
Throughout the event, you'll see a chat box next to the event stream. Please do ask questions and leave comments. We'll be doing a live Q&A at the end of today's event, and we've got a team monitoring the chat to answer any questions you have about what we talk about today or Army life in general.
We're really excited about today's event, so let's get stuck in and meet Gunner Carla Todd.
So, Carla, if you can tell us about your job in the Army and what that involves.
So I'm in the artillery. I'm in ground-based air defence. So I operate a missile system and drive a tracked vehicle.
Cool.
So what does a typical day in your job look like?
Typical Monday would be go to work for roughly about 10:30. We go do PT, which is like our fitness, and sometimes that'd be a circuit, a run. We do that for about an hour. Then after that, we then go back to our rooms, get changed, have a bit of food, chill out, then go to work. Depending on what we have that day or what's been planned in, sometimes it'd be maintaining vehicles or doing low training.
So you're not just kind of operating the vehicles, you're also maintaining them, so it's
Yeah.
like two different jobs in one, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what made you want to join the Army?
A few things, really. I had lots of jobs before the Army, and I got quite bored of doing the same thing every day. And once I left school and I realised, oh, you do the same thing every day in a normal job and not much change, like in the day-to-day life. So yeah, I joined then for that reason. And also, I lived in a council property by myself at the age of 18. And that was quite lonely, where before living in a council property by myself, I lived in a youth hostel, so from kids from the age of 17 to 24, and living with lots of people, like, it was nice. And then going from living with loads of people to then living by yourself, going to work, coming home, doing the repeated thing every day. Yeah, it made me think that I needed a change.
Okay.
And the Army offers you like a place that you work with people, and it's more sociable as well.
Is that something you've enjoyed?
Yeah, it's one of the best things about the Army. It's like you're always in your social bubble. Like when you're an adult, you realise you go to work, you come home, you never have time to see your friends, where in the Army you work with your friends.
When you first got here, what was it like? Were you nervous coming here, or?
Most nervous thing about coming to phase 2 was getting the train up here, to be fair.
Oh, really? Not done that before?
No.
Okay.
Because I lived in such a little town, like there's just, yeah, it's not very big. So like going to London, getting trains and stuff was a little bit scary, but
So
it sounds silly now, doesn't it?
No, but it's
But like
life
teenage
experience.
me was like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
That's good. So
It's all part of the journey,
you feel
yeah.
more confident just in
Oh
general
yeah,
as a
it's like all the things I used to worry about, like before joining the Army. I'm like, why did I worry about that?
Yeah.
I used to be up at night, like the night before my selection, I couldn't even sleep because I was so worried. And now I've done it, I'm just like, there was nothing to worry about.
And what was it like making friends here and getting that new family in the Army?
I thought it was going to be so difficult because I didn't think I'd suit in the Army. Just got all these fears I heard about the Army and like us, like the Army being like Incredible Hulk and like really physical fit, and that wasn't my personality, and I'm quite girly sometimes. So I thought I was going to struggle, but I really didn't. Like you turn up and you work with these people, you learn basic skills of them, you like go back to the block, you spend all your time with them, so you get to know them really well. And yeah, so you make friends like so quickly. It's like people I've known for like a week, you feel like you've known them for years, because how much time you spend with them.
Nice. So with that then, obviously you're in the Royal Artillery.
Yeah.
What made you decide for that job role?
I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I joined the Army, just because I've had so many other jobs, but I know I don't do well in a classroom or sitting behind a computer or anything like that. So I went on to the Army website before I joined and put in things I like to do, and it gave me a few options, and the artillery was one of them. I think it's mainly because it's like more of a physical job. It's not like any classroom based really.
Yeah.
So I haven't been put in a position where I sit in an office all day or anything like that. We're always like hands-on, and that's the way I learn. That's what I like to do as well.
So it suits you?
Yeah.
Nice.
And what has surprised you most about when you joined in the army? What has kind of really stuck out for you?
How much it feels like different from like a normal job. Like I work, but I don't feel like I'm in work. Like before, I know if I work as a waitress and stuff, I'd dread to go to work because I was like, oh, I've got to walk around for 8 hours on my feet. Where in the army, it doesn't really feel like a job. It kind of feels like you're a little bit like you're back at college because you're learning as well. So it's like always like a learning thing, and it doesn't really feel like a job that you're always dreading to go to work to.
Were you surprised by that? Did you find it easier than you thought it would be? Do you think like, the army's going to be having shouting at you and running around constantly?
Oh yeah, it was a lot easier than I 100% thought, because when you see all these films and the people you typically see on like army like films are all big, strong, and at the time I was pretty small and I thought, what am I doing?
Did you find did that surprise you?
Yeah, no, it completely surprised me. I can remember turning up into phase 1, I walked in and I was like nervous, I was shaking, and I walked into a room and there was girls my height, smaller, of like all different shapes of bodies, and it was like pretty amazing, to be fair, because I just assumed that everyone was going to be, I don't know, Incredible Hulk or something.
Accommodation, you live on the camp, don't you? What was your accommodation like?
So my accommodation is a single man room. I have a double bed in there. It's a fairly good size, like it's enough. Got 2 wardrobes, which is important. I brought my own bed, like a double bed, but you do sometimes get issued them, just for the simple fact that I can have underneath storage for more clothes.
Is that the only accommodation that you've been in, or have you been in other types?
I've been in other types, yeah. So when I was at phase 2, we had 4-man rooms, but that's only for about a couple of months. And it's quite nice whilst you're in training anyway to live with like other girls, because you're going through the same training and like the same courses. So it's always so handy if you're struggling on something for someone to like help you out during the night.
So we had like an open door policy at my first unit. So everyone's doors was open in the block.
Yeah.
So if you had your door open, it means you wanted someone to come in and have a chat if you wanted. Do
Yeah.
you have that here?
Yeah, so we have that, but we also have like a communal area, like a living room. So we sometimes just go sit in there. Or if you're cooking like in the kitchen as well, there's always someone in and out, even if they're just putting rubbish in the bin because they're too lazy to take it outside.
So what about like in work time? Like how do you feel with the people that you actually work with? How is that?
They're like your brothers and your sisters.
Yeah.
Sometimes you argue with I argue with the boys all the time, just for like silly things. But yeah, no, we are all really close, and that's what I like about the army as well. It's not like any other job. You leave, you work at home, you go back to the block and they're there as well.
Yeah.
So you do get really close to people, and there's like not one person I work with who I don't trust.
It's always nice. Where have you been with the army?
With the army, my main one was Canada, so I went out there for about 5 months. Yeah, that was quite good, to be fair.
That is good, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was just before I joined the army, I was like, didn't have a lot of money, so I never travelled, and it was like the thought of getting on planes and stuff. But then I've done a few things with the army, and now I just go all the time.
Nice.
Did you get to go out? Did you get to go to Medicine Hat, the local town?
Yeah, I went there, and I went on AT there as well. So I went 2 weeks kayaking.
Nice.
I didn't fall in though. I was too scared.
You've done Canada?
So yeah, well, I've done a few places, but I've been really lucky with the adventure training. I've done skydiving, wakeboarding, do football. Do you do sports?
I never played sports before I joined the army, never.
But yeah, you got the adventure training instead.
What do you do now? Now you're in the army, what sports do you play?
Just a little bit of everything. Mostly rugby at the moment.
Nice.
But
Union or league?
Union.
Good.
Yeah.
Sorry, league fan. Okay, cool. So have you got any qualifications out of the army so far?
So you've done a few apprenticeships. So whilst you're in phase 1 to prepare you for when you go outside to get civilian qualifications, I've done an apprenticeship in driving heavy good vehicles.
Nice.
And dangerous goods. So if I left the army, I can drive vehicles with dangerous goods.
That's level 2, isn't it, as well? So that's like GCSE, kind of 5 GCSE level, isn't it?
Yeah, so I did that whilst I was in phase 2, and I also did my maths and English again, because I struggled to get that at school, because I struggled to learn.
Did you find it easier to learn in the army than at school?
Oh yeah, because I was getting paid for it.
That always helps, doesn't it? It always helps.
It does, because you need that little bit of motivation at school. You're like, oh, why am I here?
No incentive whatsoever in school.
Yeah,
No.
it's the same with fitness as well. Like going to the gym as a civilian, I'm like, I used to pay for a membership, and I'm like, I'm paying to put myself through this. Well, now I get paid for it, so.
I'm exact same boat as that. Like, I would never go to a gym if I wasn't in the army, but I'm getting paid for this, so here I am.
Yeah.
Do you find that the gyms here are decent?
Yeah, no, they are quite good as well. You can get a key fob as well, so you can use them 24 hours. And I started doing it at the beginning because I was a bit shy of equipment. I didn't know if I was doing things right, so I'd go in at night time when no one was there and just try the things out.
How is that now? Has that changed? You going?
Oh yeah, I'm not shy anymore. I'd happily do stuff wrong.
How's that come about? How's that evolved?
I think it's because you realise you're not the only person that's doing things wrong, and I think as you get older, you just care less of what people think, and you realise that people don't actually care anyway.
Can't learn if you don't make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Have you got any advice for anyone that would want to join?
I think once you get your fitness, that's the main bit, then everything else just comes naturally. So my advice would be work on as much fitness as possible before you come.
All right, I can see a lot of really great questions coming in from everyone at home. But before we get into those, we're going to take you on a quick tour of Larkhill Camp. Roll VT.
Hello, my name is Sergeant Pym and I'm part of the Royal Logistics Corps. I'm here today at Royal Artillery Barracks at Larkhill and I'm going to take you on a tour. This is the kind of accommodation you can expect to be living in once you leave training. Each room is a single-person room and you'll be living with your friends and your colleagues. Here's an example of one of the rooms. It has plenty of storage and each soldier will make it their own. Fitness is a big part of your time in the British Army. Every single camp you'll visit will have its very own gymnasium. Let's go and have a look at this one. This is where you'll be doing your physical training. As well as our structured lessons, we can use this gym in our own time. Let's take a look at some of our other spaces. This is the cardio suite and the sports hall. During your time in the British Army, you will further your education and personal development. Anything from gaining NVQs right up to degrees. We'll be delivering these lessons to you in our state-of-the-art classrooms. Let's go and have a sneaky peek at one of them now. This is the kind of place you'll be doing most of your classroom learning. This is called the cookhouse, and here you will take your breakfast, lunch and dinner. No matter what your dietary requirements are, we will cater for all your needs. After that delicious meal in the cookhouse, I'm going to take you into the next room. Here we have the home of the Royal Artillery Esports Gaming Club. This is the first of many that we're going to roll out across the country. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that gives you a flavour of what to expect when you join the British Army. I look forward to seeing you soon.
So that should give you a little taste of what an iBase is actually like.
So we have been receiving your questions for Carla, so we're going to put some of those to you now.
So Carla, thanks so much for sticking around. First question that's been sent in is, what hours will I work in the army?
So it's different, but mostly it's not as long as like civilian work. There's no like 12-hour shifts, and there are times that you will do that. For instance, if you're on guard or operations, but to day-to-day life, like what we do, like 80% of the time. On Monday we have a short, not a short start, a late start even. And Wednesdays we finish at 12 o'clock and we go play sports. And then we do that for a few hours. That's a half a day. Then Friday, you either have it off or that's a half day as well, and you finish at 12. So really, like the hours you do work in normal working hours is very short. It does help because you get a lot more time with your family, and because obviously we're deployed other places or our camp might be far. So I'm originally from Norfolk, so if I was to go home, it's like 3 hours. So it's nice to have shorter working days so I can balance my life.
Do you feel like the army actually values your home life and your family
Yeah,
life?
there are times that we do have to work more than like the average person, but that's not always.
Yeah.
Like it comes in times. There might be a month out of the year that you work late nights and stuff, but that's just part of the training. And then you come back and you're like, oh, how dare they make me work past 12 on a Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
You hear people moan about it all the time. I'm just like, oh, when I was like working on the farm, I'd work from 5 till 6 o'clock every night, sometimes even later. And now I get angry if I work past 5 minutes past 12, actually.
Like, come on, stand me down
Yeah.
already. Okay, so next question we've got. Is there anything I can do to prepare for life in the army before I join?
I'd say one thing to prepare is just a little bit, try to do as much fitness as possible, just because, not saying that you're going to struggle when you get into the military, it's just the fact that in civilian life you don't really do it, or people do it, but it's not like the normal, where it's more like abnormal in civilian life to go to the gym than it is normal. So if you get into a bit of a routine, and it'd be easier once you join.
Looking back before you joined the army, if you were to be that person you were advising, what sort of fitness would you actually get into before you joined?
I'd probably run a little bit more. I did try, but it's just because when you train them by yourself, you don't know how to push yourself. And that's the one thing I have learned about myself. Like, my mind used to give up way before my body did. So I'd do one lap, get out of breath, and I'll be like, that's me done for the day. When really you can push way much further than that. It's just getting used to it and knowing like your body can actually do that, and it's just your mind telling you can't.
Nice. Okay, so next question we've got then. How is being a woman in the army? Were you nervous about it before?
Yeah, I was nervous about it just because I didn't know any females in the army. I came from a little town and I knew a few males, but I didn't know a single female in the army.
Yeah.
And the picture I built in my head was so much different than what the reality was. So I know I shouldn't really say that, but like in my head, I just thought all these girls are going to be really strong or really not very girly, but they have like a great mix in the army. I've got like girls that come out and do my hair and makeup for me. I've also got girls that like play in sports. I've also got girls that would never even put a dress on.
Yep.
And I've got girls that would like tell me, no, you need to change that dress, get another one on.
Variety.
Yeah,
you
so
go.
it's like such a mix where I didn't think that was going to be in the army. I thought it was going to be one type of person and that was it. But no, I have like all help for everything.
There you go. Okay, so next question. How do you cope and prepare for operations and deployments?
So there's loads of ways you can prepare yourself, but the army does put in place other things that help you. So before you go away, you do lots of brief on how to cope, what country you go into, what their beliefs are, how to act, how to present yourself. And the same when you're coming back, you don't just come back from an operation or exercise and being thrown in the deep end and told to go back to live in your same life. You have briefs on how to bring you back into reality and your normal day-to-day life. Can't get my words out then.
Yeah, get looked after a lot more, I think,
Yeah.
in terms of going away and coming back and, prepping.
But yeah, it's difficult at first because like it's like the fear of like going to a different country and being without your own bed and stuff. But you do go with people you know very well. It's not like you go away with people like you never met. So the people you go away with, you've worked with these for weeks, maybe years, and you know them very well. So it's kind of like going away with your like other family.
Yeah. Army family.
Army family, yeah.
Nice.
We've had lots of questions about basic training. What's one piece of advice that you wish you had before going into basic training?
To not be scared. The night before going into basic training, I didn't sleep because I was that nervous. But then I got there and I was like, it's nothing really to worry about. Just, yeah.
What were the
achievable.
nerves about?
Yeah.
Like, what was it that was...
I don't know. I don't know what it is because, like, you turn up to phase 1, you're like, oh my God, I'm in the army.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like before, like when you're doing applications, it doesn't really like feel real. And then you walk through that like gate with your suitcase and you're just like, oh.
And your instructor's just standing staring at you all, like, rigid.
And it becomes real very quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was just like, I don't know. I can remember walking in and just being like, oh, what have I done?
Okay, so leading on to that, so what stage in the training process do you need to have decided the corps you would like to join?
So before I joined, I already wanted to go to the artillery and I didn't really change my mind. But in phase 2, your trade training, that's when you can decide on what job you're more suited to.
Right.
So I had a few options. I wanted to go King's Troop at first, but then later on realised maybe I don't want to work with horses as much. So I went to air defence, but we also have stables there. So I could have done that as a sports. So on a Wednesday, instead of doing that as a full-time job, I could just do that as a hobby.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. Doing both, like, and
So when people are doing sports like football and stuff, I don't like football, so I can just go to the stables and ride horses and have a bit of my passion as well and not have it as a full-time job. Because I had people, sometimes if their passion and they work it too much, it no longer becomes their passion. So if you have a bit of both.
Still getting to work with animals.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's nice to have a good mix of things, isn't it? And I think the army offers that a lot.
Okay, so next one then, what did you have to do during basic training?
Well, they tricked me a bit, to be fair. So in basic training, our first night out in the field, it was like a little camping exercise. And I thought, in my little basher at the time, my little poncho we put over, and I thought, with a little fire, and I thought, oh, this is like camping.
Singing Kumbaya.
Yeah.
We were actually
combat camping,
singing,
yeah.
we were like giving it stories, like saying who we were, if we had family, and just giving a little bit about ourselves, getting to know the girls and boys. And then like a week later, it was no more camping.
Yeah.
It was more learning how to survive in the field and work in the field.
Cool. I remember that. It was the
Yeah.
same in my basic training.
I was
Exactly
literally
the same.
10 up
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
camping, I'm used to
And you've
this.
got the perfect poncho shape,
Yeah.
and then, you try and do it in the wind and
And in the dark, like you put them up in the light as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then everything's kind of gone everywhere and you've lost everything.
Oh yeah, how
You
many
soon learn.
pegs?
You soon learn.
Looking for things in the dark.
That was another thing I was terrible at, losing things as well.
Like the pegs.
Yeah, I now get the ones that kind of like glow up a tiny bit.
Yeah, with the little knife.
the dark ones,
yeah,
yeah.
glowing dark
You're not
tips.
allowed them, but if you dig them
Yeah.
in a bit.
Yeah. You put a bit
Future
of dirt around
tips.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
What about accommodation? What are the accommodation costs like?
Accommodation costs change on what type of accommodation you are in, but the army now are trying to have Z accommodation, which means it's got an ensuite, it has enough room for a double bed. Most of them have double wardrobes, has like a desk in there, but that's like the standard throughout the army now. There are some accommodations where you might be in a situation where you have to share a room, but that's normally just in training and mostly for welfare as well, because you're going through a difference of training and having people there is more of a like,
As you
help
were
you
saying,
out.
it does depend on what camp you go to sometimes.
Yeah, it depends
as
on
well.
what camp you are going to, but it's very unlikely that you will be in a shared accommodation once in unit because the army have put a lot of funding to make sure we all have a single accommodation.
Yeah, I've been lucky. Like my whole career, I've always had my own room. So the accommodation gets better as well the more you're in. I
Yeah,
think.
Mine's kind of varied. I live out, I have a military house quarter. I pay £300 a month and my neighbour pays £1,000 a month, who's a civilian.
Okay, so actually another question, talking about rooms. Can you personalise your room?
my old room at my old unit, I did paint pink. On the only condition that I painted it back once I moved out.
Yeah.
But my new room, because it's like a Z type, you're not supposed to paint them, so I've left it. But I've added my own curtains, so I got pink curtains, nice pink rug in there.
We talked about you travel a lot on the weekends. How are the weekends and how often are you able to visit family and friends?
I see my partner every weekend. So every weekend I'm obviously not deployed or anything like that. So I knock off on Friday about 12 o'clock and I go straight there and I don't come back until 10 o'clock on Monday. So I get like a fair amount of time to spend with him.
Okay, and I think going to be last question.
Yeah.
What's been your favourite part of being in the army, actually?
Favourite part is just the social part as well. I think mainly the 100% the social part. Just even when you do functions, like every year we may have like a boxing event or your battery birthdays or anything like that, when you just celebrate and you'll get together. Like another job, you don't really get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Okay, lovely. All right, that's all we've got time for, but Carla, thank you so much for coming in and answering some of our questions.